In a lavishly extravagant venue, rows of beautifully arranged tables adorned the space. Among them, one table seemed isolated, almost like an afterthought, where a nameplate bearing my name was placed. It was a joyous celebration for my respected brother. I had come to intimately share in his happiness. There was no reason for me to be treated like an outsider, secluded at a distance. A regular employee with a low education sits at the back, she whispered in a low voice, her laughter echoing as if she found great joy in the statement. Just as I was about to raise my voice in protest, a gentleman approached me. "Could you be, by any chance, Mr. Smith?" "Yes, that's me, but who might you be?" "A gentleman with impeccable manners." He was a well-known investor in the industry. Graciously, he thanked me, attributing his success to my efforts. "At your service, sir. It's all thanks to you." Upon the gentleman's words, one man started to clap. This applause gradually spread to others, and before I knew it, the surrounding people were looking at me with eyes filled with respect. My name is Henry, 43 years old. I have been working in an IT company for many years. My brother, James, who has watched over me since high school and into my career, has become the pride of my life as a successful entrepreneur and chairman of a major corporation owning multiple companies. When I was in middle school, our parents died suddenly in an accident. Fresh out of college, my brother took over our parents' steering retail business. After graduating from middle school, I intended to help, but my brother insisted otherwise. He urged me to go to high school for my future prospects and even managed to cover the expenses. Thanks to him, I was able to attend a high school that specialized in the field I was interested in and graduated with excellent grades. However, by that time, our family business had significantly deteriorated. As we faced the possibility of bankruptcy, my brother encouraged me to find a job elsewhere. I resisted, wanting to help with the business, but he said, "If the company goes bankrupt, we'll both be left with nothing. I don't want to drag you into this." My brother said this with a kind smile. That smile, reminiscent of our father's, also spoke of the hardships he had faced and the years they had added to his appearance. "Besides, you've always been interested in IT companies, haven't you? Don't worry about me and follow your own path." Moved by his words, I nodded for my tears. Indeed, I lacked the commercial knowledge and experience at the time to be of any help to my brother. I resolved to succeed in the IT industry and support him whenever needed. With that determination, I pursued my own path. For over 2 decades, I worked tirelessly. The IT industry was rapidly evolving, and companies that couldn't keep up were quickly left behind. Throughout this time, I continued to learn and adapt to the ever-changing technology landscape. Meanwhile, our family business stabilized, and my brother expanded his ventures, eventually leading his company to go public. "Someday, I'll establish a company where you can work. I'll be counting on you then." "Understood. I'll make sure to be there for you when the time comes." That promise was about to become a reality. At the same time, my brother, who had missed his prime marrying years, had finally decided to get married. He met his bride-to-be, Emily Parker, a woman in her 20s, through a prearranged date. Emily's father was an executive at my brother's company, which led to the matchmaking. Initially, my brother felt sorry for her due to her young age, but it turned out that Emily had fallen for him and pursued him vigorously. Despite the age difference, it won't be a problem if she truly loves my brother. I had convinced myself of this. The first time I met Emily was when my brother introduced us, following his announcement of their engagement. "This is my brother, Henry, and this is Emily." "Nice to meet you, Henry." Upon my brother's introduction, Emily flashed a brilliant smile. Emily gave off a flamboyant and glamorous vibe overall. Then, my brother's phone rang. "Excuse me, I need to step away for a moment." As soon as my brother left, Emily's demeanor changed completely. The smile vanished, replaced by a scrutinizing gaze. "Which university did you graduate from, Henry?" "Well, I didn't actually go to college." At my words, Emily blinked exaggeratedly. "Oh my, James told me about that, but I can't believe it. To think you're really just a high school graduate, and to show up dressed like this." I was stunned by her blatant contempt. Indeed, we were in a private room of a high-end restaurant located at the top floor of a hotel. Under normal circumstances, I wouldn't even come near a place like this, and my suit was an off-the-rack, budget-friendly option. She must have noticed that at a glance, indicating she comes from a rather affluent background. But that's no excuse for looking down on others. I'm sorry about my attire. I should have been more careful. However, regarding my high school, I tried to explain that my high school was well known in the industry for specializing in a specific field. But I never got to finish my sentence. Splash! With that sound, the water from the glass Emily was holding was thrown in my face. There's no need for such unpleasant talk. It's truly despicable that someone like you is leeching off James. Emily's gaze was ice-cold and filled with disdain. I'm sorry, I'm back. What happened here? Seeing me drenched, my brother hurriedly took out a handkerchief and wiped my face. It's nothing. I just spilled some water, that's all. Does spilling water usually result in this? I assured my brother it was nothing and stood up. I'm sorry, brother. I'm not dressed appropriately, so I'll be heading home now. Yeah, you shouldn't catch a cold. Take care on your way home. I'm not a child, you know. I left the restaurant with a laugh at my brother's words. Throughout that time, Emily glared at me from behind my brother, her contempt and malice palpable. With a mix of fear and frustration, I made my way home. Days passed without another encounter with Emily, and the day of my brother's wedding arrived. This time, to avoid embarrassing my brother, I had a suit custom made. The ceremony was to be held in a luxurious chapel of a renowned hotel. Holding the invitation, I approached the reception. Two dazzlingly dressed women stood at the reception desk. As I handed over my invitation, they checked the name and began to giggle. Was there something funny about my appearance? It was my first time with a custom suit, so I wasn't sure, but I'd be embarrassed if it was inappropriate for the occasion. It shouldn't be a breach of etiquette. We've heard all about you from Emily. You only graduated from high school, right? Is that suit rented? It doesn't quite seem to fit you properly. With their light, bell-like laughter, they looked down on me. Indeed, I am a high school graduate. But that doesn't mean I lead a life worthy of scorn. More than that, isn't it exceedingly rude to treat someone you've just met this way? Though I felt this way, today was a special day for my brother. I didn't want to cause a scene and spoil it for him. Could you please hurry with the registration? I'd like to go and offer my congratulations to my brother. Trying to maintain my composure, I responded, which only seemed to irritate the women further. This isn't really a place for people like you, you know. Taking advantage of the chairman's kindness a bit too much, aren't we? They seemed about the same age as Emily, likely in their 20s. Being berated by these young women, an indescribable irritation swelled within me. Regardless, you should be thankful to Emily for sending the invitation and arranging a seat for you. Exactly. You're probably just here for the food, right? We'd appreciate it if you left after eating. What has Emily been telling them? No, everyone, about me. It seems I'm perceived as a high school graduate leeching off my brother. Please, just hurry up and... I was about to ask them to finish the registration when they probably noticed the line forming behind me. Then, please go ahead. Just make sure not to sit in the wrong seat. With a flurry of movement, they completed the paperwork, shooing me away as if I were a stray dog. Sighing with fatigue, I headed to the groom's waiting room, After knocking and receiving a reply, I entered. "Congratulations, brother." "Henry, thank you, that suit suits you well." He complimented my custom-made suit. "You're not usually one to care about appearances, but it's good to dress up properly now and then." My brother laughed heartily, and I couldn't help but smile back. "I actually wanted to ask you to give a speech." "Come on, that's not really my thing. Too embarrassing." The thought of giving a speech at the wedding of my brother, a big company chairman, was too daunting for me. After reminiscing and enjoying each other's company, it was time for me to leave for the ceremony. The grand and lavishly decorated venue was filled with numerous tables, with some guests already enjoying lively conversations. I began searching for my seat. I was looking forward to celebrating my brother from a seat close to the groom's side. However, where the groom's family was supposed to sit, an unfamiliar man was seated. Puzzled but moving on, I checked my invitation and searched for my seat. And there, amidst the celebratory gathering, was a table set apart, standing alone. It was clearly placed in isolation, and on it was a nameplate with my name. Despite checking multiple times, my name was indeed listed there. Isn't this a bit too harsh? I can ignore the disdain directed at me. It's not worth worrying about. But what is this? A joyous celebration for my respected brother. I came here to witness his happiness up close. There's no reason for me to be treated like an outsider, hidden away at a distance. I consider myself a patient person, but this was too much to bear. Then, a familiar, mocking voice came from behind. "Oh, you actually showed up. How presumptuous of you." Her high-pitched laughter was grating. "Emily, what is the meaning of this? A regular employee with a low education sits at the back." She whispered in a low voice, her laughter booming as if she found great joy in the situation. Noticing her voice, a few people turned their gaze toward us. I knew I shouldn't cause a scene. Yet, I couldn't let this go. Just as I was about to raise my voice in anger, I noticed a gentleman approaching. "Could you be Henry Smith, by any chance?" I nodded in response to the gentleman's inquiry. "Yes, that's me, but who might you be?" It's only natural that you wouldn't know me. However, I am indebted to you." What is he talking about? I was puzzled and a bit panicked when I heard that the gentleman was Kenneth, a well-known investor. "Mr. Smith, the technology you've developed over the years at your IT company is remarkable. I was hospitalized for a long time, preparing myself for the worst." The gentleman standing before me, though elderly, exuded an aura of refinement and dignity with his upright posture and polished demeanor. He looked well and healthy. "It was the cutting-edge program and system you developed and provided for a medical device, regardless of profit, that saved me." I was taken aback, my eyes wide in surprise. "It's all thanks to you." I hurriedly tried to correct the gentleman. "Please stop, I was just helping a friend." At the time, a friend who worked at a medical equipment manufacturer approached me for advice. They were developing a device that could save many lives, but they were struggling with the programming. They wondered if there was anything I could do to help. Impressed by my friend's innovative ideas, I helped with the development of this groundbreaking device. All I did was create a system and program to ensure the device worked smoothly. It wasn't me who saved this gentleman. It was my friend. Yes, I've thanked him as well, but he said that without you, that device could never have been made. The gentleman's words caused a stir around us. "I'm an investor. I understand the value of such technology. You provided it at almost no cost. This wasn't a project for my company. Though it demanded a fair amount of effort, the fact that the device could save many lives was undeniable. Knowing that, I simply couldn't refrain from lending a hand. My friend was the one who provided the device to hospitals at an exceptionally low price. He tried to share the profits with me, but I only accepted a small sum and declined the rest. The profits should be used to create more devices that could save others. It seemed the gentleman was aware of all these exchanges. Upon the gentleman's words, one man began to clap. This applause gradually spread, and before I knew it, the surrounding people were looking at me with eyes filled with respect. What is this all about? There's no way this man, this poorly educated leech, could be so incredible. Emily's voice echoed, and the hall fell silent. Most people looked at her in disbelief. The gentleman, too, stared at Emily with a stern look, different from the one he had given me. You are Miss Parker, the daughter of the Parker family, I presume, I did advise James. With a heavy sigh, the gentleman spoke in a cold tone to Emily. That's right, I'm the bride, I'm far above him in status. Status, you say, that you are superior to Henry. Of course, I am the eldest daughter of the Parker family. No matter how prestigious your family may be, it doesn't make you superior. Miss, what have you achieved? Emily was at a loss for words at the gentleman's question. Given her age, just out of college, she likely had no work experience. There couldn't be any achievements to speak of. As Emily trembled with humiliation, some men, drawn by the commotion, approached. Leading them was the man who had been seated at the groom's side. The men following him might belong to his faction. What's going on with our daughter? Came a low voice, barely concealing irritation. So it was Emily's father, Nathan, all along. He's about the same age as me. Why would someone like him give his daughter in marriage to my older brother? I can help but suspect there might be an ulterior motive. Dad, these people insulted me. At his daughter's outcry, Nathan turned his gaze toward us. To raise your voice, even though you're a well-known investor, what is the problem? Nathan blatantly ignored me, addressing the gentleman instead, who frowned in response. I merely came to express my gratitude to him. It was your daughter who started insulting him and causing a scene. The gentleman pointed out that Emily was the one being rude. And you are? You're James's younger brother, aren't you? Surprising to see you show your face at the wedding. Quite bold, aren't you? There's no reason for you to disrespect me like this. I am his family. It's only natural for me to be here to celebrate. I finally let out what I had been holding back. Yes, I am the brother's sibling, his only family. I have no reason to be criticized by others for attending the wedding. Just as Nathan was about to say something more, my brother entered the hall with a brisk step. What's all this commotion? Did you come to greet my brother? Though he was smiling, I, who know my brother well, could tell it was a gesture he made when angry. James, this person was awful. Just because he's your brother, he was terrible to me. Be quiet for a moment. My brother's quiet words carried a strong, irrefutable command. Emily, who seemed about to cling to my brother in fear, froze in place. I'm aware of the various schemes you've been plotting. My brother spoke coldly, staring at Nathan and his entourage. I thought this might be a good opportunity to cleanse the company of its corruption. Nathan and his group's faces contorted at my brother's chuckle. They must have known what they were guilty of. What are you accusing me of? Recognizing a bluster in Nathan's flustered tone, my brother silently summoned a man. The man approached from behind Nathan with an unfazed expression. His entourage watched with incredulous faces. And to my surprise, I recognized the man's face. He was an old childhood friend who had joined my brother's company about 10 years ago to help us out. Surprised that he and I seemed at odds since he joined, actually, he's a friend. Your actions have been completely transparent to us. While my brother smiled broadly, Nathan and his group began to tremble. What on earth is going on? Emily, too, looked bewilderedly at her father. I gathered you here under the pretext of a wedding reception. The company you are managing is currently being inspected by the tax authorities, in place of the employees here. If you do that, it will damage the company. This implies Nathan has something to hide. Indeed, an inspection of a large corporation like my brother's could lead to a scandal and potentially crash the stock prices. But my brother spoke firmly. So what? We've faced and overcome adversity and crises many times, thanks to the cooperation of trustworthy employees. And then he delivered a chilling statement. That's why we don't need someone we can't trust like you. That was the final blow. Following my brother's command, the police entered the hall, handed Nathan a warrant, and took him away. Watching this, Emily collapsed in tears. My brother, paying her no mind, walked over to me. I'm sorry you had to go through this. It must have been tough. Responding to my brother's kind words, I simply smiled back. What are you talking about? As long as you believe in me, that's all that matters. Amidst our conversation, a shrill cry cut through the air. It's so unfair. I just love James, that's all. You were wronged, and I apologize for that. However, what your father did is unforgivable. But what about the company? If Dad gets arrested, it'll be a disaster. That was something I was prepared for. Emily was speechless at her brother's calm reaction and despaired at his attitude when he stopped making eye contact. At that moment, the gentleman spoke to my brother. Indeed, your company might face tough times, but I believe in your future success and would like to invest in it. My brother and the gentleman shook hands with smiles on their faces. Meanwhile, Emily was sobbing, exclaiming how unbelievable and terrible this all was. Emily had been harsh to me. Honestly, I disliked her. However, I couldn't bear the thought of Emily and her mother suffering due to Nathan's crimes. Brother, may I have a moment? What is it, Henry? I was thinking about Emily. Could we possibly offer her a position at your company? Emily, having just graduated from college, had no job experience. Working in a top-tier company would be a significant challenge for her. Given her pride, she might even disdain menial tasks. Yet, she must work. For her remaining mother and for herself. Despite the unpleasant things Emily had said to me, her love for my brother was genuine, and I didn't want to abandon her. You really are something. All right, let's do that. Emily, tears still streaming down her face, silently nodded in agreement. Following the exposure of Nathan's corruption, my brother's company did suffer a temporary setback, but it was fundamentally strong. With the dedication of its employees and investment from the renowned investor, the company has fully recovered its vitality. I then resigned from my long-term job and joined my brother's company. As promised years ago, my brother had established an IT-related firm, and I was slated to become its CEO. Though new to a leadership role, I was determined to use my experience and knowledge to guide and mentor the younger generation. Years have passed since then. My brother and I were visiting our parents' graves. Much time has flowed since we lost our parents. Now, at last, the two of us are working together in a company passed down from our parents. We vowed at their graves to continue growing the company, supporting each other as brothers. And in the gentle sunlight, we walk side by side under the dappled shade, heading down a bright path together.